Congratulations, everybody, for making it through the last exam and being complete with the course. I am, for those of you who've not yet returned your textbook to me, if you signed one out from me, holding your final grade hostage. Please get that back to me today on Friday, if at all possible. I have to submit the grades by Monday at noon, and I really don't want to turn in an incomplete for you because you've not given me back your book. If you have some sort of an issue, be sure to just email me or call me, and I'm sure we can work out some sort of mutually agreeable arrangement. When it comes to the final grades, I'm going to use conventional rounding rules. A few of you are sitting at 89 point something greater than 89.5, and I intend to round that up. And one person sitting at a 79.6, and I also intend to round that one up to the next higher grade level. So enough of that grade stuff. Let's talk about the last exam. Scores were all over the place, some really great scores, some less than great scores. And I understand that it happens. You get to the end of the semester and you figure out that you can't really move your grade from a B, so you don't put in that much effort. But I did want to go over the short answer questions with you so that you can know what was a correct answer. The first question about the price differential between WTI Midland and Cushing was because there was insufficient pipeline takeaway capacity in the Permian Basin as production soared. That differential has largely gone away because there have been several new pipelines that have come online so that there is ample capacity, takeaway capacity to move the crude from the Permian to the various markets. The second question was about what if you saw a report that said Texas got 50% of its wind or electrical requirements from wind on a given day? What kind of weather was it like? Everybody said, well, it must have been windy. And I gave you 7 out of 10 points if you said that. So pretty easy question there. But really, some of you got a little bit higher than that just because you also said it can't be too windy because in high wind conditions, they actually have to shut the turbines down. The other key piece that some of you got, but many of you missed, was that it was probably a day with very moderate temperatures, not too hot, not too cold. And the reason for that is when it's hot or cold, the overall electricity requirements increase, and there's no way that wind would be able to provide 50% of that amount. And anytime you see those statistics, and you'll see them periodically about, oh, this state or this country or this city got X% of its wind on this day, it's almost always for a moderate temperature day. The next question asks you about your personal beliefs on achieving a 50% reduction. And I can assure you, whether you said you thought it was or wasn't possible did not affect your score. I had plenty of people who got full credit who argued both ways. It was about the quality of the argument, and there were many ways that you could argue it. You could say, if you didn't think it was a realistic goal, 85%, many of you cited the fact that 85% of the world's energy is currently fossil fuels. The challenge that much of the world does not have reliable electricity yet, so they're not going to be able to afford more expensive. But if by the same token you wanted to argue that you did think it was realistic and you talked about the decreasing price of wind and solar, the increase of technology, the societal push, all those answers were good answers. So most people got full credit on that. The next question was about net metering. If you had excess solar to sell back in. And the first part of that question, I was just looking for you to say the word net metering. The second question, I painted you a scenario where, to me, any answer between 2 cents and 8 cents would have been realistic. I was just looking to see how you argued it. The notion being that the utilities should get some sort of money for maintaining the grid and providing the distribution network and things like that. So 8 cents would be kind of pushing it in my mind, but if you came up with any number between 2 and 8 cents, you explained it, you probably got full credit. State with the most wind resources, that's Texas. And several of you mentioned lots of land that is compatible with that use, some good wind resources, and that's all true, and you got a lot of points for that. But you also had to add in the notion that Texas created a distribution system through the construction of electrical transmission lines that were able to move that electricity from West Texas mainly into the markets in Central and Eastern Texas. Lastly, I ask about why did ExxonMobil and other bigs oppose the methane changes? I was, to be honest with you, a little shocked that some of you talked about the methane changes done by the Trump administration as though it made them more difficult to comply with, when in reality it made them much easier to comply with. So those folks that went that direction didn't necessarily get a lot of points. Um, Again, there are multiple ways that you could get there. To me, the most compelling arguments are it had already begun to make investments. Very importantly, it wants natural gas to be seen as a clean fuel, and making it seen as a clean fuel means cleaning up, if you will, the methane emissions that somewhat cloud the environmental appeal of natural gas. And you could also make the statement that the small independents with the old wells were the ones that were primarily going to benefit from this. And so they might not want to let that happen. There are the answers on the exams. And again, several of you did extremely well on the exam. Some of you, I figure you didn't put in as much time to study for it, and I understand how that happens. So let me say thank you for taking the course. I hope you enjoyed the course. I hope that you feel like you learned a lot about the energy industry and that you have a sense of just how essential this industry is to modern day life. And I think you're very informed to be an educated citizen as the world and as the nation makes informed choices about where we go with our energy in the future. For those of you that are interested in pursuing the oil and gas field as your career, I hope you walk away with a lot of information about how it all fits together, and with a sense that even though I believe there are going to be some pretty major transitions in the energy mix in the world in the United States over the next several decades, there are still a lot of decades ahead where oil and gas production is going to be a huge part of our economy. Some of you, you're finishing up your MBA. Congratulations. I am very, very sorry that there's not going to be a graduation exercise where I get to shake your hand as you walk across the stage. The rest of you are still in the midst of your MBA journey, and I wish you great success, and I look forward to seeing you in the spring. I hope that you enjoy a very happy and relaxing holiday season. God bless.